This is an expressive practice sample. You have been asked to render a message for a deaf mainstreamed middle school student. Their English class is learning how to write a thesis statement. You will have a 1-minute warm up followed by a 1-minute break. After the break, you will begin interpreting or transliterating. The warm up will begin momentarily. Alrighty. Next up, we're going to be talking about thesis statements. Now, if you're not familiar, a thesis statement is sometimes called a topic sentence. We'll get into that later. A thesis statement is generally what we're writing a whole essay about. Our thesis statement goes in our essay introduction, and it kind of introduces our reader to the topic of our whole essay. Then throughout the essay, we are backing up our thesis. We are providing evidence. We are providing commentary. And we are trying to convince the reader that our thesis statement is true. Then, in our conclusion, we reiterate our thesis statement that we have now proven. So, by the time our reader gets to our conclusion, our goal is that our reader should agree with us. Thesis statements are very important, and they're going to be a pretty important building block as we continue learning about how to write essays. So, today I'm teaching you guys how to write a thesis statement. And then later on, we're going to learn how to write a paragraph around that thesis statement. So, to write a thesis statement, we're basically going to follow this outline. We're going to answer these questions, okay? So when we're writing a thesis statement about a story, we're going to say, what was the topic that we're talking about? What did the author of this story say? So first, we're going to pick out that topic. Then we're going to expand on it. What is the author saying about this topic? Okay. So, for example, our story, The Two Boys and the Big Blue Bird. This story is about empathy. And what is the author saying about empathy? The author is saying that empathy is an important characteristic that helps people understand each other and connect with each other, okay? After that, we have what the author is saying about that topic. Then we're going to come up with a question about what the author is saying about that topic, right? So what question do I have about what the author said about empathy? So let's say my question is, what does empathy look like? Okay, so then I'm going to turn my question into an I think statement. I'm going to say, I think empathy looks like helping others. Okay, and then I'm going to turn my I think statement into a thesis statement. Basically, I'm just going to drop the I think. All right. So my thesis statement is empathy looks like helping others. Okay. Now, this is an example of a very short, brief thesis statement. We're going to learn how to expand our thesis statements, how to make them easier to use to write an essay with, and stuff like that. But this is just kind of a really basic example, okay? So just to go over it one more time before we start practicing. A thesis statement starts with figuring out what the topic is, of figuring out what the author said, okay? Then you're going to expand on that with what the author said about that topic. In this example, it was what the author said about empathy. Then you're going to develop a question that you have relating to the author's topic. Then you're going to turn it into an I think statement. And then your I think statement is going to become your thesis statement. And again, a thesis statement is the overarching argument that you're going to make for your whole essay. But each body paragraph of your essay will also have its own, version of a thesis statement. When you're using a thesis statement in a body paragraph, it's called a topic sentence. That topic sentence should directly connect to some point that you made in your thesis statement. And then the purpose of that body paragraph is to expand on that specific point from your thesis that you're discussing in your topic sentence. Does that make sense? So, in the intro paragraph, you have your thesis statement. And then in each body paragraph, you will have its own thesis in the form of a topic sentence to tell your reader which point you are defending. So when I say thesis statement, I'm talking about the topic sentence for your whole essay. And when I'm talking about a topic sentence, I'm talking about, a thesis statement for that specific paragraph. So it's really important that whatever you're saying in your thesis, you can expand upon in the body paragraphs of your essay. If it's not a point that you think you can comfortably defend in the body paragraphs of your essay, you might need to think a little bit harder about whether or not it's wise to include that in your thesis statement in the first place.